Hello, everyone. Let's continue with our social studies packet, and we're going to continue with our World War II assignment. 50 million people died during World War II, which is from 1939 to 1945. The deadliest war in world history, involving over 50 countries, including the United States. Many of those who died during the war were civilians, and there may have been a total of 80 million deaths. The fighting took place in many areas of the world, and it was the most destructive war in history as well. Historians believe the cause of the war could be traced back to the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed in 1919, officially ending World War I. Remember World War I, where Germany lost, right? So of course you know that Germany was not happy. So World War II continues the fiasco. Okay? The first war was fought to make the world safe for democracy. But the agreements that ended the war only caused bitterness and anger among several countries. Germany, along with other Central Powers, remember in World War I we had the Allied powers and the Central Powers, Germany side, and the Allied power had America, England, France, right? Russia. Okay. Germany lost a huge amount of territory. It's all about land and, having control over all this land. And had to pay large sums of money to other countries for the destruction they had caused. Germany had high unemployment, high prices, worthless money, and angry citizens. The war in Europe then began with Germany's invasion of Poland. That's what started World War II. They want to mess with Poland. And this is going to lead to the Holocaust, which is the killing of all these Jewish people in Poland. The concentration camp where they gas these people to death. They starve them to death till they're bony, till they came and fight back. And they just put them in a gas chamber. It's really horrific. In the late 1930s, many people across the world were having financial difficulties. In America, we had the Great Depression, right? The end of the 20s. So we were still trying to get back on our feet. A lot of people were starving. So in the late 30s, many people across the world were having financial difficulties and seeking leaders who would make life better for them. Unfortunately, there were 3 countries where people were being led by dictators. Dictators, that word. Dictator, which is a military leader or ruler who takes complete control over a country, usually by force. A dictator. It just forces you to be under their regime. You don't have a say-so. It's a dictator. The dictator of Germany was Adolf Hitler. The dictator in Italy was Benito Mussolini. And the dictator in Japan was the Emperor Hirohito. They each set up a totalitarian government where the government is in charge of everything, controlled by a single political party that stops opposition. Anybody that oppose them, hey, you're going to die. And control citizens' lives. That's what dictators do. They kill people. They tried to take control of many countries in Europe and elsewhere. But the rest of the world initially did very little to stop them. they didn't do much to stop them. They knew it was happening. America knew these little people in the Allied power, they knew it was happening, but they didn't do anything until they really started coming after their land. Then that's when they stepped in. Besides Poland, Adolf Hitler and the German army invaded Austria, Czechoslovakia, Russia. Pressure, hush! Hush, pressure! That's our dog. Pressure, hush! Russia and other countries. Hitler and the Nazi party also waged a war of terror, mainly against Jews, but other minorities as well, eventually killing over 6 million Jewish people in what became known as the Holocaust. Adolf Hitler wanted to conquer Europe and the entire world. Really? For real, though. Okay. Mussolini, that dictator, sent the Italian troops into Ethiopia, which is the northern part of Africa. Not South Africa, the northern part of Africa, which is connected to all these other countries and superpower countries, right? Ethiopia and other countries in Africa, the top portion of Africa. And Japanese armies invaded China and islands located in the Pacific, right? Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941, prompted the United States to no longer remain neutral. When they went and messed with Hawaii, that's when America really got involved, right? Because that's American territory. Like the beginning of the story talks about everyone's trying to get land and have control of these land, you know? Okay. The attack was a surprise to the United States, and it killed over 2,400 people and wounded another 1,700. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, along with Great Britain and its leader Winston Churchill, declared war on Japan, leading the United States into World War II. They pulled us into World War I, which is not, which is a European war. Then here we are again getting involved in World War II, which is a European war again. A few days later, Hitler in Germany declared war on the United States. Hitler. Now, today, you'll find out that we have military bases in Germany and all that because this World War II, we end up overcoming. The United States became the leader of the Allied power, which included Great Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and France. How can the United States from all the way in the New World be the leader of, because if it was left up to just these countries right here, Soviet Union, China, and France, they were going to lose to Germany because Germany was powerful. They had equipment, they had weapons of mass destruction, super, super powerful weapons, more powerful than all these other countries. So when the United States joined in, it really helped them out. Okay, of course, the other side included Germany, which is the Allied powers. The Axis power, they call them. Germany, Japan, Italy, known as the Axis power. In World War I, they were called the Central Power. Because we had the Allied powers, who were still the United States and the other guys. And then you had the Central Powers, which was Germany and the other crew. But now Germany went and started taking over those other countries. Now, the fighting between the two sides included many battles throughout Europe, North Africa, and in the Pacific, which is the Hawaiian side and the Japanese side over there. The end of the war in Europe occurred on June 6, 1944. So you're talking about from 1939 to 1944, right? When the Allies attacked Germany, the end of the war in Europe occurred on June 4th when all the Allied power attacked Germany, which is often called D-Day or the Invasion of Normandy. The Germans were pushed out of France, but they fought back through the battle of the Bulge. There's a bulge. Let's say you have a straight line and then there's a bulge right in there. They broke through that line. They went around after we already secured the Allied the Allied power already secured. They were taken over. And then what they did was they went behind them. Before they got to them right here, they went behind them and broke through on two sections. But we still got them, right? That was the Battle of the Bulge. But the Germans were eventually defeated, and on May 7th, 1945, they surrendered, right? The war ended in 1945, but look, June, like almost a year later, Germany was still doing stuff, man. Even though that European war was over. Thought it was over. The war in Europe ended, but Japan was still fighting in the Pacific. Even Japan still fighting. The United States forced Japan's surrender after dropping atomic bomb on two cities in Japan. The first in Hiroshima, which was August 6, 1945, and the second, 3 days later, they went to Nagasaki and dropped another bomb, which is like a mushroom bomb. And what it does is it's like an aerial attack. It just wiped out the whole, everybody, everything in sight, everything alive just got wiped out. Because America was already tired. They already fought all these, on ground, losing all our soldiers. We're not going to go back over there on the ground to fight you guys man to man. We're dropping a bomb. And that's what we did. At least 120,000 Japanese people were killed immediately. That's immediately. That means the ones who stayed alive, they were burnt. They had side effects for years. They were suffering from the fumes, from that poison, from the bomb, from the atomic bomb. And Japan surrendered to the Allies on August 14, 1945. It was the first and only time nuclear weapons had been used during a war. World War II was over. Right? So really it was over. Even though it ended, you see how it ended. The war in Europe, the end of the war was June 6, 1945. Look at this. A year later, it was actually over. August 1945. All right, let's do our questions. Which of the following may have been the cause of World War II? I chose A, the Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I, because Germany was not happy with the agreements, right, that they came up with. Hey, you lost. The agreement is you stop going over here taking these countries. Stop that. But he didn't stop. They still continued after they signed the treaty. They still continued. So then World War II started again when he went into Poland. Okay? Which of the following, number 2, which of the following ignited the beginning of World War II in Europe? C, Germany's invasion of Poland, where the Jews are. Because, they're not fighting people. The Jews. You're going after all these weak countries and just taking them over first. Then the more weak countries you take over, and then you set up your military bases in there, and then you become like a superpower, and then now you're going to go and attack America and attack France and attack all these countries, right? Because now you got, okay. Number 3, I'm getting all hyped because, hey, I'm getting hyped. Number 3, All the following leaders are identified as dictators except A. Winston Churchill. Because when you do process of elimination, eliminate all these other ones that goes together, which is Hitler, Mussolini, and Hirohito, those are dictators. So the other one is not a dictator, which is Winston Churchill, as far as England is concerned. Which of the following defines a Holocaust? I chose B. Hitler eventually killing over 6 million Jewish people, or anybody that he felt was beneath him. You know, he considered himself the supreme race, so he killed anyone that's not considered a supreme race of people. Number 5, which of the following countries became the leader of the Allied power? Allied powers. United States. They considered United States, they became the leader because these Britain, France, China, all those other countries, they couldn't really defeat Germany on their own. And when they start messing with American soil, American territories, like Hawaii, you getting us involved. And we're not trying to interfere, but we have to. We can't just sit back and watch. Number 6, which of the following dates is D-Day? D-Day is June 6, 1944. Based on the end of the war in Europe occurred on June 6, 1944, when the Allies attacked Germany, which is often called D-Day or the Invasion of Normandy. And that's it for World War II. Okay? We have more topics to cover. Brown versus Brown of education. You guys have the free enterprise system. And then you also have the last topic in the social studies will be the European Union. And that's all she wrote, folks. That's it for now. You guys have a good day.